This is your host, Laura Winters, the heart-led pathfinder, intuitive energy healer, speech-language pathologist, and owner of Your Light Holistic Therapy and Wellness, LLC. Welcome to Miracle in Time, a mini-series podcast that brings you the stories of beautiful humans exploring the synchronicities, blessings, and miracles within our perception of time. It illustrates that events are not just happening to us, but for us. Life isn't always rainbows and butterflies, but it is a miracle in time. As a disclaimer, this podcast contains general information about various topics and medical conditions and is for educational purposes and inspiration only. Your Light Holistic Therapy and Wellness LLC is not responsible or liable for the accuracy of information contained in this podcast. The information contained in this episode is the personal views of the host and guests respectively. This podcast is not meant to replace the advice of your healthcare provider and is not intended to prescribe, prevent, treat, or diagnose disease. You assume all risks when you continue this episode. Today on Miracle in Time, you're going to hear a conversation that I had with my beautiful friend, Lauren Lazzaroni. Lauren is a speech-language pathologist and a mom of two amazing girls. She is also the owner of Lazzaroni Pediatric Speech Therapy, LLC, and provides speech, language, and myofunctional services to children in Northwest Indiana. Her personal journey in OMDs and myofunctional therapy quickly grew into a passion to help other families navigate oral ties, OMDs, speech therapy, and everything in between. I hope you enjoyed this Miracle in Time. I am really excited to be talking to my friend Lauren today. And this is the person who I had said in my second episode that I signed up for the course, said that I need to be led. If there's someone that I need to meet, please put them on my path. And then that next morning I woke up and she had asked, is anybody going to this course? Can you give me some information? And then I reached out to her. So I am really excited to have you here, Lauren.
I'm excited to be here.
All right. So first, Lauren, I want you to tell our listeners just about you.
So I am a speech-language pathologist. I live in Northwest Indiana. I've been an SLP for 9 years now. I've worked in a variety of different settings, but since October 2023, I opened my own private practice, and I've been doing that. So
we went to the Make the Connection course together, and so you started your private practice in October of 23. What were the things that led you to myofunctional therapy?
So I started noticing that both of my children have myofunctional issues. They both had their ties released when they were little, but then as they got older, I started noticing all of these different symptoms, and I stumbled upon the term like orofacial myofunctional disorder. And I was like, oh, there's an underlying cause to all of these different symptoms that they're having. And I also started noticing that like 80% of my caseload, also these kids had issues with, airway and with dentition, and likely had ties and feeding and swallowing and all these things. And so I started doing a bunch of CEUs online once I realized speech therapists do this. So I have access to some of that stuff, which is great. Just like little courses here and there. I tried to do like the cheap ones because I didn't have a lot of money, but I reached a point where I had done like 50 hours of online courses, and I felt like I knew a lot, but I didn't know how to put it all together. And I had told my husband that I wanted to start doing myofunctional therapy for clients in our area because we don't have a lot of therapists that do it here. I know because I was looking for them for my own kids and I couldn't find anybody because a lot of people won't see kids that are, under 5 or under 7. And so I told my husband, I was like, I think I need to go do a live course, like an in-person practice on other people and get a feel for it because I'm not used to putting my hands in other people's mouths. Like if you're a dental hygienist who goes into this, it's much more, I think, comfortable for you. And so I needed something in person, and I heard really good things about Make the Connection, and was a little nervous about the costs and everything, but I just thought it just felt like a good move.
Yeah. And I know that we've talked like the issues that my kids were having also kind of led me down this path. And the thing is that like once you realize all the things that are involved in this, like it can be so emotional and so anxiety ridden, and like there's so many things that goes into it that I don't know, that we just had an opportunity to talk to each other about. But I imagine that a lot of other parents and especially mothers are kind of going through the same thing. And so this is kind of a newish area that is starting to pick up some speed. And but yeah, I forgot you said that you had done all those hours beforehand. So that's so crazy.
Yeah, because like you said, it encompasses so many different areas, and I was just trying to learn as much as I possibly could because I think we repeatedly get dismissed when you try to take your kids to an ENT and you're concerned about their tonsils and adenoids, and they just tell you, oh, they're fine, or sleep studies, just, anything. And so I was just trying to do what I could as a mom and also as an SLP. I am in a good position where I was able to do that, but not everybody is. And so I wanted to be able to be that person for other families to help guide them through all of the different areas and like, hey, here are the issues, here's what we need to do first, second, third, and just try and help them navigate it.
Yeah. So so you said, okay, so both your girls had their tongue ties released, lip as well?
My oldest had lip and tongue, and my youngest had had her tongue and cheeks. I left her lip is tied. I left it. I'm not sure why, like a postpartum, like haze. I don't know what the decision process was there. Again, back when my kids were younger, I think when my second was born was when I started like learning about myofunctional things and ties, but I wasn't super like educated. So I was just kind of trusting what people were telling me. And I had learned a lot from the first time because my oldest, she's almost 3.5 years older than my youngest. And so when we had her, it took me 4 months to get somebody to listen to me that I thought she was tied. And I didn't know anything back in the day, but I knew that she was tied, and it took 4 months before we could have it released. So
And
I knew a little bit better the second time.
yeah, for sure. And how old was she when you got it done?
She was 4 months.
Oh, okay. So you knew like right away there was an issue.
Oh yeah. I mean, when she stuck her tongue out, she had like she had her little heart tongue, and breastfeeding was just the most miserable, excruciatingly painful experience of my life. And I was like, it's not supposed to be this way. I mean, we would spend sometimes like 2-3 times a week in the lactation consultant's office, just crying. I mean, it was really not good for my mental health too at the time, but I was so stubborn that I wasn't going to give up on it. And I knew there was something else going on, even though they were telling me she's fine. And I was like, no, it's not supposed to be this way.
Exactly. And in the postpartum haze, you're just like trying to survive. But I feel like sometimes that like mom gut instinct is stronger then because it's just the only thing that comes through. Like everything else is just like blah, 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 that like that's kind of like I don't know, kind of like the baseline is just our intuition and what we know. And so when you're in that and you know something's wrong, that's the thing that comes through the strongest.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you can almost like if you have all these other people telling you that it's fine and that's not an issue, you can almost start to like gaslight yourself where you're like, okay, well maybe I'm crazy. Or I would blame myself. So I'm like, okay, well if it's not a tie, then what am I doing wrong? And then I'm trying to change all these different things unsuccessfully and you just feel it doesn't feel good.
No. So, what kind of changes did you notice after the release for your oldest?
So immediately after the release, nursing improved. Um, Exponentially because like I said it was absolutely miserable. So it improved and I was able to nurse her until like 14 months. So I mean immediate wonderful improvement. However, I didn't know what I know now, so like we didn't do body work with her. We didn't do like chiro or like any sort of like craniosacral therapy or anything like that, which I think she could have benefited from. um and so, yeah, I mean, everything seemed fine with her up until, she was maybe like 2, 3, and I started noticing some other things that I think are attributed to the tie. I think she's still restricted too at this time. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they released it the best that they could at the time. And I did the best I could with the stretches and stuff afterwards. I mean, with a 4-month-old, it was miserable. So maybe I could have done a little bit better, or things are just the way that they are. So I think she's still restricted a little bit, and I think that's something that we're going to have to revisit in the future.
Yeah. And then for your youngest, how did that go the second time? So like you're armored with all this information, like you
Weird.
know who you used before, you know what you're looking at. So how was that process then?
It was easier. I mean, I knew pretty much that she was going to be tied as well, and she was. So we had hers done at 4 weeks old. We didn't go to the same provider. I kind of wish that we had, but I did not. I guess I just kind of thought like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll go somewhere closer. And but again, with her, she didn't have as many issues with nursing. Like it wasn't as horrible, but I knew she was tired and I knew we were having some trouble. So we had him done at 4 weeks and she did good. And like I said, again, everything seemed fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And then they start getting bigger. And then you start seeing other symptoms and things pop up. And I know that you've been on quite a journey with them.
Mhm.
And so, can you talk a little bit about, as they get older, things that you might be seeing? Because I know, like I said, it with my kids, it was the sleep, it was snoring like crazy at night,
Mhm.
likely some apnea, bedwetting. And just when you have that information, you're like, oh crap, they do have a high palate. Like my boys are still tied.
Mhm.
You're just like, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff like hits you.
Yeah. So I think it's similar things with both of them now that my oldest is she'll be 7 in September and my youngest is just about to be 3.5. So with my oldest, I didn't think she looked like her palate didn't look too high and narrow, but I think it is. She sucked on her fingers for way too long. I think it took until, gosh, she was like 5.5 for us to get her to stop. So that had really affected her teeth. Um, and when I was trying to figure out like how to make her stop, then I was also concerned that it's an airway issue because, is she trying to open up her airway? Spoiler alert, she probably was because she has a narrow airway. I know that now. So sleep was a big one. Like she has always struggled with sleep, and I just wonder if her like structure has always been part of that. But so because of the sleep, she is very hyperactive and she cannot pay attention. She's very emotional. We go through periods where like emotional regulation is really, really hard for her. and she's exhausted. I mean, emotional regulation is hard for me too when I'm exhausted. So that was a big one. I think they've both gotten like pickier, probably due to certain textures and things being difficult for them to manage because of what's going on, in their mouth. Yeah. And then the younger one, I didn't see as many issues. Her palate is so high and narrow, but I don't, they're so similar, but they're so different too. You know what I mean? She was a pacifier baby, but we ditched that around two. But she's starting to show more and more of the sleep issues, I think. She's a mouth breather. And when she sleeps at night, she sleeps with, sometimes her neck is so extended that I look at her on the camera and I'm like, she can't breathe. I'm terrified, you know.
Yes.
And that was that's the part that I think overwhelms me is when you look into the effects of like sleep disorder breathing and like what it does to their brains, and that some of these effects can be like long lasting. And that's really what made me be like, okay, I got to figure out how to fix this. Like we need to get going. I don't want to wait until she's 7, 8, 9 to fix this, you know?
Exactly. And this is like the time where like they say that sleep is most important. There's so much development that's happening with the brain, and I completely agree. Yeah. My oldest, even I mean he doesn't snore anymore. I don't notice any apnea. Like he's so silent. In the morning he says I slept good last night, so that's great. But I still catch him sometimes with that extended neck, like all the way back. You're like, you cannot wake up and be comfortable with how your neck is all night long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you notice all these problems and you're aware. Then what's the next piece?
Cry for a little while. Cry and be overwhelmed and stressed out because you don't know what to do. Um, I was really lucky. So back before I had started taking all of the courses and everything, I was just kind of like Googling here and there. I connected with a dental hygienist who was practicing myofunctional therapy privately, and she didn't see. So at the time, I was most concerned about my youngest. I probably should have been most concerned about my oldest. I didn't know it at the time, but I was reaching out looking for somebody to see my youngest, and she didn't see kids her age, but she would have seen my oldest. But she did like a 15-minute like consultation with me, which turned into like 45 minutes. And she was so kind to talk to me about both of their issues, and give me kind of like a path of like, okay, here's what you should look into first, and then look into this, and then look into this, and then, why don't we hop on a Zoom and chat about how things are going? And this was without me like being her client. She did this for free, and she was just so kind, and she changed my life. And I will never forget her. I reached out to her recently because I wanted her to see my oldest. I wanted to start doing some myo with her, and I just cannot do it myself. And she's unfortunately not practicing anymore, so I was so sad. But she still sat down with me, and she was like, "Okay, well, where's she at now?" And I will never forget her. I am forever grateful to her because she helped take that like stress and overwhelm off of me and gave me like a plan. And then in the meantime, that's when I started doing like all these courses, because I was like, okay, I can work that out now that somebody gave me a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, and I think you make like a great point with like the emotions, the anxiety, the lots of crying, because that can happen in waves over and over and over. And that opportunity that you were given, like this lifeline, right? Like you're like at the end of my rope. I need someone to help me, and boom, like this person was just had given you so much kindness to be able to put together a plan and know what your next step was. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of times I feel a lot of times as moms, we like, especially in postpartum, but I read something not too long ago that said postpartum is forever. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that so true? Like, we're not just talking like 1 year postpartum. Like, this is like for life, right? Like, your life is completely changed. But a lot of times as moms, we like internalize things and we just go like, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. And sometimes when we go to these providers and we like give them the information and like we hope that they're going to do something with it, and we're just not getting, like, we're being gaslit, and these pieces are not falling into place. But to have someone who can just like give you the light that you need to know where you're going next is like that right there that you said, and just like the way you said it and how your body was just like, she was the miracle that you needed in your life right then.
She was. And I cried to her on Zoom a couple times. And it wasn't just what she gave me with regards to like helping me figure out a plan for the kids. It was always how kind she was. Like, she'd be like, it's okay to cry. And she would tell me like, you're doing a great job. And that always makes me cry. Whenever somebody's going to tell me you're a great mom or you're doing a great job, I always cry because I don't know. I think we don't hear that maybe as often as we need to. So to have like a complete, like pretty much stranger be like, no, I see you, you're doing a good job. Like keep doing what you're doing. And I could cry right now.
I am so excited to be able to offer a low-cost healing option for moms out there that are overcome by guilt from medical decisions. I am healing the guilt from making medical decisions early on in my children's life that I honestly didn't know any better. As a result, they have chronic illness, and I am often reminded that they have their own journeys too. Love is how we heal our guilt, and we don't have to do it alone. Join us in Healing Medical Mom Guilt. You can register on the website at yourlightllc.com/scheduling. I think that we don't see that in ourselves as often as we should. And that's where this emotion comes from, this disconnect of like, I do know that I'm trying the best that I can, and that someone sees that, but it's like, well, wait a second. Okay, it is okay. I am okay. They're okay. Because I think that, like, I know for me, my mind was like, okay, they can't breathe. They're having trouble. They're going to suffer this way. And like, my mind always goes to, well, then they're going to die. And like, I know that's like so extreme, but like, that is like where my mind just always like leads to. Boom. And I have resolved a lot of my issues with death, but like, there's so many things. And so I think that, you know, to hear that we're doing a great job, and I know you, and I know that you do, like, I just am blown away by how you are as a mom, because you're just a beautiful person, and the way that you are does, I mean, I can't even like put it into words, right? Like, I'm just like mumbling, but you're like the epitome of like, I go like, oh man, Lauren's really killing it. Man, I suck, you know?
The fact that you say that is impressive, because we've had conversations and I've told you some of the things that I struggle with as a parent and things that I do that I am not proud of. And I don't want to cry on your podcast. Like, it's hard as a mom. And I think we are constantly feeling like we're not doing enough. And I think for me, it's not, I don't jump to like, they're going to die, but I jump to like, I know these are all their issues. I know what their issues are. I can't fix them fast enough. I'm trying, and we have some setbacks or some things didn't go the way that they were supposed to. I want them fixed now because I know how detrimental this stuff is for them, but it's unfortunately not a quick fix. And so I think I feel like guilty that I can't just like poof, fix it for them.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, if like I go like, if I was equipped with the knowledge way like when they were very little, then we could have bypassed all this, right? Like that, it seems like, is maybe where the more quick fix can be, though it's not that easy. I don't want anybody to get that idea. But I think our mind goes, if I would have known this earlier, then we could have dealt with it then, and then we wouldn't be dealing with what we are now.
Right. There would be like different things that you could do earlier on to maybe not end up in the same place that you're at when they're older. And I think that's why, like, for me, it's so important. And I hope to like try to connect with other professionals in our area because we don't have a ton of professionals that are necessarily like on board with oral ties and myofunctional therapy and stuff like that. But like early identification of some of these signs and symptoms, especially like from dentists and stuff who they should be seeing your kid, like if you're taking them when they get their first tooth. I mean, they could be looking for all these things and talking to parents about it. And obviously, like we wouldn't be doing myo with like a 1-year-old, but we could help guide the parents on certain things that they could do or not do to try and better their child's like development and growth.
Exactly. To have those like little preventative pieces and the knowledge base when they are so little. And right, ideally it would be like the dentist seeing that, or even equipping some pediatricians with this knowledge of like, some of the stuff when you're looking in there is not, even as a screener, like, oh, that looks maybe not the way that we want it. Let's follow up on that.
Yeah. And not just calling things normal when they're not normal. Like your child shouldn't be snoring. Your child should not have their mouth open. They shouldn't be mouth breathing. They shouldn't sound like they have a cold all the time. We need to check into those things and figure out like what is going on.
Mm-hmm. And some of those underlying things are like possibly like some allergies or something in the environment that you're in or something that they're eating or there's or just structurally itself, there's a lot of factors that could be going into that and could be playing into that that might be able to be kind of remedied early on.
Mm-hmm. That way, certain things aren't becoming a habit, like mouth breathing. And when you're mouth breathing, your tongue's laying on the floor of your mouth because it can't sit up where it's supposed to if you're. Yeah, I think that's definitely an important piece.
Mm-hmm. And so, okay, so for your oldest, you guys did go the expansion route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we put her in an upper and lower expanders in October of last year. She got both. So she had just turned 6. I wish I had done it sooner. She could have handled it sooner. She's a really tough kid. I know that not all kids are. I mean, I have this with some of my clients right now where the kiddos are like 4 or 5 or even like 6 and they know that they're going to need an expander, but they're like, they're not going to be able to handle it. They're not going to be able to do it. And I think our kids are resilient, and I think there's certain things that we can do to try and get them there. Like with my oldest, we had a family friend who was going through expansion. She had just gotten hers like a month before, so she made videos for her to watch, and she showed her expander and her tandem bow, and she told her how it felt putting them on, and it really helped prepare her. So with her, I know that if I prepare her really well and she knows what to expect, she does better. Some other kids, I just had this conversation today with a parent, is even if we know that they're going to need expansion, but there's no way that they're going to tolerate it right now if they just have extreme anxiety, or if it's like you can't even take them to the dentist for a regular checkup. We have to meet our kids where they're at sometimes and just go, okay, they're going to need expansion at some point, but right now is not the time, unfortunately. And here's what we can do in the meantime, So with my oldest, we did the expansion. We needed to do some protraction of her jaws because they are set further back and she does have a narrow airway. Unfortunately, the forward growth did not happen due to several things, but she did get expansion, a nice expansion, and we are going to a different provider next month to figure out like what we need to do for the forward facial growth. So, but she's handled it like a champ. Now I have to figure out when to put the little ones expanders on.
I know it's overwhelming, and the cost of all of that can be super overwhelming. So, I mean, so we talk about, you know, the anxiety, the emotion that comes along with like trying to set your kid up for this healthy life that you want them to have. But this stuff is not just like, it's not just free, right? Like it's not a free insurance is going to pay everything for this to make sure that my kid gets better. There is a lot of financial responsibility involved in it. So that can be extremely overwhelming as well.
And time. I mean, not just the cost, but the appointments. You know, we had the one provider that was somewhat close in our area, and they're so busy that I would pretty much just have to take whatever appointment time they had, even if I had to miss work or take her out of school. I mean, she's, you know, and she's had so many appointments because we had some issues here and there, you know, things fell off, things broke, you know, and so it's a huge time commitment too. And then if you don't have a provider in your area, so now like the new one that we're going to, it's an hour drive into the city, and that's just what we're going to do because I know that that's what she needs, but that's another stressor too.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm hosting this course in Northwest Ohio because we don't really have many providers at all. And so, yeah, I'm driving 2 hours to the orthodontist that we go to, and that's every 8 weeks. But sometimes there's an adjustment or there's a piece that we need to add on that is 2 weeks out or is 4 weeks out. And so, yeah, it's not just for that appointment, it's not just they miss a part of school, they have to miss all of school. You know, it's 2 hours there, the appointment, 2 hours back. That's a whole day of school, you know? Okay, so we go to the course, and what were some things that you really, really loved about the course? Or like what, I don't know, tell me your experience.
When I say it was amazing, like it was amazing. Like I said, I'd done so many hours of, you know, little courses here and there before I even went, but and I thought I knew a lot. And I did, I mean, this whole world of like myofunctional therapy and disorders is just huge. There's always going to be something to learn. But it was amazing. I mean, so you do like 10 hours or so, I think, of videos like ahead of time, which is a lot of like the background information. And so like a lot of that I knew, but there was a ton of it that I didn't. It was very comprehensive and very thorough. I think sometimes maybe almost like too much, not that it's too much, but that it can be overwhelming for sure when I was trying to cram it in like after work before bed, or you know, I don't have like a ton of time just to sit and do the stuff when it's quiet. But it was so comprehensive, and then the in-person course or portion of it was just wonderful. I think we had a really wonderful group. I mean, I'm biased because I haven't been to any of the other ones, but like we had a wonderful, wonderful group of people. And it was fun, and we got to do things like hands-on and practice, and that was kind of the piece that was missing for me with all the other courses that I had done, is that it was always a lot of like background and like diagnostics, like how to identify, you know, signs and symptoms, but no actual, or not a ton of like treatment. Like, okay, now this is what you should do. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the piece that I was definitely looking for, and I definitely feel like I got it, and it was fun.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that they've changed it because Diana retired. I think there's about 20 hours online now, and then it's 3 days in person. So that goes into a lot of like I believe the dental stuff is going to be on mostly online. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It was a lot of information, but it was like it seemed to flow. You know, everything kind of seemed to flow, and then that hands-on piece was really, really important. There truly was a focus on treatment and implementation of the treatment as well. It wasn't just like, here's a bunch of techniques, try them out. It was also, okay, let's look at these cases. Now what would you do? So that implementation piece was there as well, so that when you left, yes, it's super overwhelming, but you could at least like take one or two kids and be like, okay, now I can start integrating this right into what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And they give you a really wonderful, like, I want to say like manual, but it's not, Mayo's not cookie cutter, or it shouldn't be. It should not be. We know that there are people doing Mayo in a cookie cutter way, but it's not. I swear I have this manual right next to me. I'd like carry it around because it's got all of the information, all of the information, but very nicely like compacted, from like the background stuff, dental stuff, which I don't come from a dental background, so I have to reference that all the time. I'm like, which teeth am I measuring between? To evaluation, to all of the like treatment strategies. They give you so many different ideas where you can go through if you're like, gosh, this kid really needs to work on like lip strength. Like, let me go to the lip section and find like some different exercises, and you don't get stuck doing button pulls. You could look
Yeah.
for other ideas. So that was amazing too.
And I also liked, as we're doing like the treatment in the coursework, that it was like, okay, well, these are some of the things that you can do, but also think about other ways that you can work these muscles as well. So like when I came home and I was like, okay, to my oldest, I want you to try this. And I'm like looking around, I don't even have what we had before, but
Mhm.
like I just like pull something out of the drawer or pull something out of their toy box and like just made it work, and it was totally fine. So they do get you thinking kind of a little bit outside of the box as well.
And I think it's because they teach you the why behind what you're doing. I mean, because anybody can tell you to put a button in your mouth and pull it. But you have to understand like what you're doing and why, like what's the purpose, what are you working on, which muscles, and then knowing that, then you can figure out other things that work too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Now, I do. Okay, because the price is so much, and that's what I hear a lot from people is like, "Whoa, I can't swing that." But I think that because there are so little providers around, I mean, in your area, especially I know in my area as well, there is opportunity for
Hmm.
sure to be had. And so I I'm curious what you feel like I mean, how long do you think it took you to like gain that back?
Probably very quickly. I mean, I came home from the course. It was like the middle of October, right? Like middle to end of October. And I started doing Myo stuff with my existing clients that I was like, absolutely, we need to start doing. Once you start looking through like that Myo lens, you really can't unsee it. And you realize that a lot of these kids do have myofunctional issues and things that could be worked on. And then I think in January, I opened it up to, I like told everybody that I was doing myofunctional therapy. And I mean, I only work part time, but my caseload is primarily myo right now. And I get people call all the time for myo evals. And so, I mean, I think it was like 2,800, I think, when we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Travel, so that was the other thing, think about the travel. It is a lot of money. I don't think it's like crazy expensive though. I mean, I've been looking at some of the other courses, even ones that are just online, and some of those are between $2,000 to $3,000 for just an online piece. So I think if you want to take the course with the intention of treating clients and being, somebody in your area for Myo, and if you don't have a lot of them, you're gonna very easily make that money back.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking like the course was done in October of 24. You opened it up in January, and like so January, February, March, April, May. I mean, we're looking at 5 months here. We're not talking about years to make that back. It truly is like when you align the stuff that you need and you open it up, people are out there looking for this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
So I think it is very much this: if you build it, they will come.
Absolutely. I think the thing about Mayo though is like it's you never stop learning. So like I'm constantly like listening to podcasts and I even like still watch stuff from like the courses that I've taken and stuff. And I'm looking for like new ones to do because there's so much information out there. So I will say like it is an expensive like niche to get into, but I have never felt drawn to an area of speech pathology before. There were like in school, there was always somebody who wanted to do fluency. There was somebody who wanted to do, hearing. There's everybody kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people had something that they really, really wanted to do. And I never felt that way until I started learning all this stuff about Mayo. I mean, I think a little bit because of my personal connection with it, but because it makes sense to me and there's such a need for it. And I want to kind of like return the help that I was given to other families to help them figure out what to do for their kiddos.
Yeah, and I think like you were saying before, even with your your existing clients that you had, you came back and you started utilizing those techniques. And what I feel, okay, I don't work with peds, so I have to say that, but what I have noticed from the treatment in and of itself and looking at things through that Mayo lens is that progress seems to go faster than some of these other things that we've been taught, like do this, do this, do this for the speech or whatever. And when we go straight to the muscle that is working the thing that we need it to do and we address that, it's like, like it seems to go pretty quick.
Yeah, and I don't think Mayo, like not everybody needs Mayo. I think we have to be careful that we're not saying like, oh, this is just what everybody needs and that's going to help everybody's issue. But when you look around and you see people mouth breathing and there's kids that have been in speech therapy for years working on like their S or their R, it's not supposed to take years. What else is going on? I mean, I've worked in the schools and there were kids that were in third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth that had been in speech forever. And I don't think everybody realizes that it shouldn't look like that. So, and that there's a lot of different things that could be going on, but
Yeah. No, I understand. But even for the adults, like there was a guy that I'm still seeing him, but he had been drooling for like 6 months, 9 months before I went to the course, and I had given him stuff to do and nothing really was working. So I came back and I said, okay, we're going to try this one thing, or actually these two things. I want you to do them every single day. I can't even remember how many times, maybe twice or 3 times a day. The next week he came back and said, everything is a lot better. And then the next week came back, not drooling at all. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like this one simple exercise that was really targeting the issue that I didn't know, I didn't have knowledge of. And like you say, not everything is going to be like that.
right.
But when you make the connection, then it just like happens, it just gets better. And that's what I think is amazing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about your practice a little bit and how maybe your things are structured or?
Yeah, so I work part-time. The other half of the time I'm home with my youngest. But I see a mix of, right now I still have a mix of like, I've got some early language kiddos. I've got some kiddos on the spectrum. I've got a ton of Mayo now, which I'm really happy about. That was my goal. I don't know that I would want to move into only doing Mayo because I like I mean, I love Mayo. I'm like eat, sleep, and breathing Mayo right now. But I do like the variety. Um, so I have a small office inside a chiropractor's office, and I mean, it's cozy. But no, it's fun. It's, just a private practice. It's just me. And
Do you find that with specifically with the myo cases? Are you doing half hour sessions? Are you doing hour sessions? Does it just depend on the person?
I usually do a half hour for Mayo, like a weekly half hour with homework given in between. So depending on like what we work on in the session, I'll then tell the parent like, okay, this week you're going to do X, Y, and Z, usually hopefully 3 times a day. So yeah, the homework is a big piece. If they're not doing the exercises outside of the sessions, not much is going to change, week to week. So yeah.
And so for like the SLPs or any professional like listening to this, so you have your private practice is just private pay, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And so one of the pieces is like, the private practice route is you can either go to, full on private pay, you can see some insurances, you can see all insurances. And when we're thinking about the myofunctional therapy, we are sitting under the umbrella of either swallowing or speech.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically like a code, the ICD code that would go with that, and then the CPT would either be the speech or the swallowing,
Mm-hmm.
and so you if you're thinking about having your own practice, you also have to consider like what is the avenues in terms, are you going to collect payment? So private pay is just cash credit, whatever they give you. And
Mm-hmm.
those are your prices. And then the insurance piece is a whole different avenue.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to stay out of that as long as humanly possible. You
Yeah.
know, it's unfortunate that the insurance reimbursement rates are so low. I mean, in some cases, they're insultingly low for what we do and, the knowledge that we have and the skills that we have. So I don't mess with it right now.
Yeah, and what I have learned through my journey is that a lot of times the things that actually work, you have to pay out of pocket for. And my views on health have changed so much. So to me, the just the thought of having to private pay, that's just my normal now, because I know that when I private pay, I'm going to get what I need and I'm going to actually get better. And so sometimes there's this just mental shift that has to happen that, yes, I'm sure there are some really great providers who are taking insurance, but it's not always like that.
Mm-hmm. I think, and too, like if you're, a provider thinking about doing private practice, it depends on your area, like whether you're able to do private pay. When I first started, I wasn't sure if I was going to get any clients. I just wasn't sure for our area if it was going to work. And it's been working so far. I mean, I don't work full time. If I was trying to build a full time caseload, I don't know that I would be able to. Um, but I always told myself, like, I'm just going to start this way. And then if I have to, I will look into like one, maybe two private companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that then takes a lot of time, with billing and fighting with them. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage any SLP who's looking into this. There's some really good private practice Facebook groups where, Mary Billings, who is the instructor of the course, she's very active on helping people understand kind of the workings of insurance and not using insurance, and having your private practice in general. So I think that there's, like I said before, I think there's this really big opportunity and a need for speech therapists to be doing myofunctional therapy, and there's an opportunity to have a practice and a growing practice, but there are those inner workings that you really have to have a handle on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you think of anything else, Lauren?
The course was just amazing, and I think if you're like considering taking it, I think you should go for it because it just completely changed the way that I do therapy, and I I wish I came across this sooner. I would never go back, and Mary's course was just really wonderful, really thorough, and I left feeling like I could jump into utilizing, like you said, utilizing some of those strategies like right away. And then when I had like my first like Mayo specific client call me, like I was terrified. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you will, or enough to get started. Everybody has to start somewhere. And I think I was always like terrified. Like I was just like, I don't feel ready. But when are you going to be like ready enough? If you're going to wait until you take like all the Mayo classes and read all the books, like you're never going to get there because there's so much. So you just have to like jump in and you have to learn. And I learned so much from my own clients, like what works, what doesn't work, what I need to learn more about, what I need to get better at. And it's wonderful.
And like you said too, we had such a really great group of people, and there have been groups that have been able to still be in contact. So what I really want to create for this group, this cohort in uh, Toledo area in Perrysburg that I'm hosting in July, that we have a really good network established while we're here, so that when we go and you go back to where you are, you still are very connected to the people. And this is because like you said, every person is so different. It's just a rabbit hole of information that you have a good connection with people that if you need to bounce ideas off of or ask about certain things, like you have a group there as well. So I think that's going to be, I hope that, with the group that is coming together for this one, that we can have that same network as well.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you plan on going out and doing, Myo afterwards. And if you don't have other people like in your area, like I didn't. I mean, there's a couple, that I've connected with now that I'm like, okay, but still, like we made the Facebook group after our course, and we have like an email chain, and I feel like I wish I was closer to you guys because I feel like you guys are all, but I'm still included, which is so nice.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I'm very thankful. It's been a really fun journey, and yeah. So, Lauren, I'm going to ask you the last question. We didn't really talk about miracles too much. So let's do that. Let's do that. So tell me, okay, so let's think about this, the whole thing. So can you think of a couple miracles that happened?
Like out of the course and everything.
Yeah, the whole like Mayo journey that you've been on with your children. Obviously, we talked about the one
Mhm.
lady was needed to be there, and she was godsend and a miracle for you. But anything else?
So this is gonna sound like cheesy, but like meeting you, and we've talked about this, but like meeting you was such an unexpected, um, if you want to say like miracle, or just really. I still laugh. I just have to say this. I still laugh because I had posted in the group, you responded, you were going, and then we connected over Facebook Messenger, and you were like, hey, if you're not a big talker, or like if you're not super chatty, like we could share a room. And I was like, first of all, I was like, I don't know this girl, so that would be like a little bit strange, but also like what a weird like because you were like, I'm getting like a break from my husband and my kids, and I was like, okay, yeah, like I get that, and I don't think I'm excessively chatty, especially if I don't know you very well. So I was like, sure. And then we didn't stop talking.
No.
Entire 4 days. We went out to dinner. We sat in the room and talked and cried. Occasionally had like a breakdown in the bathroom. I mean, but we didn't stop talking.
No. It was literally like the whole time that's all we did was talk.
We just connected. Yeah, like not in a way that I was expecting, you know. We just and I we're very similar, and I've told like, you know, I've told my friends and my some of my family about you, and I'm like we're similar, but we're also very different. And I don't know, I think maybe if you like put us on paper, I wouldn't have thought that we would have like clicked. But we did. And to have you there when I was like I think it was the first day that I was having a moment because we talked so much about Alf.
Yeah.
And I just put my kid in an RPE, like traditional expander, and now everybody's like, Alf is what you should do. And that's kind of, I mean, that's just kind of the way that they made it sound. And I was like, I didn't even know what Alf was before this. There's no one near me that can do Alf because I was furiously Googling the entire time. And so I was like, I'm gonna cry. And to have you there anytime I had a moment of overwhelm like that because of personal reasons, to kind of like talk me off the ledge. I mean, what would I have done if I was there by myself? I would have just been in the room crying.
I know. And that's the thing is like it honestly seemed like every moment that I was like going to lose my shit. Oh, sorry. Every moment that I was just gonna lose it, like you were like right there to say, it's okay, you got this. Like you were just like everything that you said was like, okay, okay, okay. And then you would lose it and I'd be like, it's okay, you got this. You know, it was like
At least
literally. Yes, it was. We very much took turns the entire time. And yeah, so I have to tell this story because I was like, man, we'll just leave it for another time. But so I'm on my way down, and it's late at night. It's dark, and we're gonna meet at a restaurant. Never met each other at all. Like there was hardly. I mean, there's a little bit communication, but not very much. Like it wasn't like, oh hey, who are you? Blah blah. We're literally just like meeting at a restaurant. So I put it in the maps. Well, because I had gone to if you're ever in Cincinnati, you have to find Snooty Fox. Like this the series of like stores. They're amazing. There's like high end or middle to high end like used clothing. Just amazing. So anyway, I went there and Lauren went to the hotel and we were going to meet at the restaurant. And I said, okay, I'm coming to the hotel to meet you. And you were like, oh, I'm already gone to go to the restaurant. So I said, okay, what is this place again? And I put it in the map. Well, it had said it was like 20 minutes away. And I was like, what in the world? Why are we going this far away from the hotel? Because the hotel is only like 5 minutes away. So anyway, I drive. And it was so weird because I do have to put this in here. So on the way down to the restaurant, I'm like driving, and I literally get hit by a wall of like this really dense energy. And I look around and I had like literally just been in the area where my sister had lived and she had this really bad experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to be here right now in this place. This is so wild. And I did some like energetic things, but then I got to the restaurant and I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm coming in. And you're like, okay, I'm right there by the door. So I walk in and I'm like, where are you? And she's like, I'm right here. And I like, this is all text, you know? So I call her. I'm like, I seriously don't see you. And she's like, oh my gosh, are you at a different one? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard of this before. So yeah, so it ends up that I went to a different restaurant, but apparently I needed to go through that space that I did. But I was like, what the heck? So anyway, got to the restaurant that we needed to go. And so we sit down and we start chatting and order food and everything. And so yeah, so with the background that I have, I kind of like tiptoe around some of the energetic things, but I was like, you know, I'm doing CFT, craniosacrofacial therapy, and we're talking about body work, and you were like, oh no. And I was like, oh my gosh. And you're like, I don't know that I believe any of this. And she's like, chiropractors, they are too woo for me. And I was like, oh my gosh. What are really, this is what we're doing here? Like, I'm like saying to like everybody upstairs, like, is this really what we're doing here? And I was just like, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And it was totally okay.
Oh, and what was so funny was like before the course, I was, and I think it's like ingrained in us, like in grad school and stuff, that everything has to be like this highest level of like evidence-based practice, right? You gotta have the exact research paper to show you exactly that something works 100% of the time, right? Like, I've always been like very skeptical about things that don't have, maybe the evidence behind it. And then like going into the course, they talk about like CST and CFT and Chiro, and retained primitive reflexes was another really nice rabbit hole that I fell down into. And so I very much had, thanks to you and to the course, had come around to understand and like be more like open-minded about things that maybe, there's not the highest level of evidence behind it, but there's providers and other professionals who their experience matters too. I mean, we're now doing CFT with my oldest. So like obviously I came around, but yeah, that's when I said like we were very different. Like you were and are very much into things, and I'm like, no, that's wackadoodle. And what I loved was I'm pretty sure at one point I literally said that to you, and then I was like, oh my God, like I hope she thinks that I'm not being like a jerk. I'm just very straightforward, and I hope you don't take it. I was like, I hope that she's not offended by it. And you never seem to be, and we got along, and I think you used the word wackadoodle now, so.
Yeah. And it was so funny to me because I remember so we had like the first little portion of the course. It was like, I don't know how many hours it was. And then it was the first break. And you came out, and the person who sat next to you, Jake, we're going to talk to later, which I'm super excited about. He very much believes in the fascia, the body work, all that stuff. And you came out and you go, he's telling me this, and you're telling me this, and they're saying this. What is happening? What do I even believe anymore?
Hmm.
So it was
Yeah.
a very much, it seemed like for you, it was a very much this like undoing of this like very black and white thinking to something gray.
Yes. And it was a lot. I think my mind was just like, "Phew." And so there's still some things that I'm like, no, that's too like woo woo for me. But I'm like a little on this side, trying to like dip a toe in here and there to certain things, trying to be more open-minded, if it's something that can be helpful for my kids or for my clients. But I also try to be like careful of the fact that the majority of this stuff, like you said, is out of pocket. So that's too why one of the reasons why I want to know that this is going to work, because I don't want to just hand you all my money and then have it not work. So there's a little bit of that in there too.
And that makes a lot of sense right there for sure. So anyway, all right. Well, let's talk. Let's just do the final question because we've talked a lot, and I think you have to go, and I probably should go too. But so the final question is, what advice do you have to help others see the miracles in their life?
That's a good question. So I actually just started doing this, and I've been hearing more and more about how like the narrative that we tell ourselves matters. The narrative that we tell ourselves about anything. So I am one of those people who I walk around all the time, like unintentionally telling myself, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, like today was just a day. And so the more you kind of like feel that way and look for that or see that in your life, the more you're going to feel it. So trying to look for the good in your life so that you see more of it. So I started a note in my phone called "Good Things Are Always Happening to Me." And I try once a day, I don't always every day, but I try once a day, or, if it's a really good day, I try to just put something there, whether it's something like really small or if it's something big, just so I can look at things more positively. Because for whatever reason, that's not the way my brain is wired. So I often look at the negative, and then I wonder why I feel so overwhelmed and so like negative. You know what I mean? So trying to look for more of the positive, and then if you want to say that certain thing, some of those things are miracles, then I think that would be a way to see them more clearly.
Yeah, that's really great that you're doing that. And this when you're saying that, to me, is just another reason that you are such a great mom, because you are constantly changing the narrative of what you know and what's ingrained in you to something that is more beautiful for your children. And I know that, like, not the intention of that is not because it's going to help them, but anything that helps you will trickle down to them. And I look up to you so much, and I'm so thankful that you're doing this with me today.
And I look up to you so much. Oh my gosh, can I tell one more really funny story? Okay, so this is remember, it was after the course, it was like months later. I was looking for an office, and you just randomly texted me a picture of tarot cards, and I was like, "Oh, Laura, what is this now?" Like, all right, way too woo-woo for me, okay? However, a few days later, I had gone to see another office space, and I was having a really hard time like deciding between the two. And I texted you and I was like, "Laura, I need you to pull tarot cards again for me." I actually asked you to, and you did, and they weren't good. And I told my husband, I was like, and it wasn't good about the one I was thinking about taking. And I told my husband, I was like, "Why is that bothering me about those stupid cards? Why is that bothering me? I don't even believe in those cards." But I didn't take that office space. And look where I am now. I have a different office space. And things work out sometimes. And things are not always as black and white as I think I wish they were. Even with Mayo, sometimes I wish it was black and white. I wish it was a cookie cutter approach. It would be so much easier if it was, but it's not. That was just another random funny thing I thought of.
And I think it's hilarious that you're with a chiropractor in a chiropractor's office, because that was literally the first thing that like stuck out to me, is that no, chiropractors are too woo. Well, guess what, girl? You are in Wooville.
And I took my too.
What'd you say?
I took my oldest to see him too.
There you go.
It's just got to be more open, if it's doable, it's not costing me a ridiculous amount of money. If it's not harmful in any way, I feel like some things are worth a try. Mm-hmm. So, and I have you to thank for that. Like, you helped me kind of open up my mind, and I don't know. I look up to you a lot too, and we've had many a conversation. I mean, I've had to text you and be like, "Can you call me?" Because I'm literally like sobbing. And whether it's about like parenting or Mayo stuff or professional stuff or like whatever it is, it's nice to have a friend who gets it. And I love you.
I love you too, dude. I love you. Well, I am so thankful that you did this with me. I feel like there was a lot of information in there, so I really hope, I'm positive that people will like this a lot. So, all right, Lauren, thanks so much for talking to me. I hope you have a really nice day.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Miracle in Time. If you would like to explore a theme or know someone perfect for this podcast, please fill out a form on yourlightllc.com/podcast. If you would like to learn more about my services, you can visit the website at yourlightllc.com. I want you to remember that with all life's ups and downs, you are divinely held and guided throughout your journey. Don't miss out on this miracle in time.